You are now listening to the fastest show on IE Sports Radio. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr. Welcoming you, taking out the lap extra mile for today, August the 3rd, 2023. And we are heading to Nashville to IndyCar. NASCAR is heading out to Motor City for the great battle of the manufacturers. And Formula One, well, they're finally on a break, and we are all happy that that is here for the next few weeks. And to help me talk about all of that, of course, my co-host, Christopher Lehman, Michael Ward.
How's it going tonight?
Not too bad.
I'm doing great. And hey, if you're in the chat, make sure you get your comments in. We will read them during the show. And we've got a lot to get to this evening. We're going to preview, of course, the last NASCAR intermediate before all heck breaks loose with this final fight to the regular season championship. IndyCar is heading to what I would call their version of Talladega. And one Formula One team just seems to be falling apart at the seams when it comes to strategy. But before we get to all that, NASCAR's Hall of Fame, they announced who was going in yesterday. And we're going to start with that because I have a bone to pick with some of the folks that are on that committee. And Chris, we were talking with the USRN guys via Twitter when that announcement came down. They announced the 2024 Hall of Fame class. Jimmy Johnson, Chad Knaus were in on the modern side, of course. Donnie Allison as the pioneer, and the landmark award this year goes to Janet Guthrie. But there's 4 Hall of Fame voters I need to pick a bone with. Because why was Jimmy Johnson not a unanimous selection?
Well, because you've got people that say, oh, well, he's a shoo-in anyway, so I'm going to place some votes on some other people and hopefully help those other people out.
This reminds me in baseball when somebody did the protest vote to not make Mariano Rivera a unanimous MVP, which he should have been, and the person who did that should have lost their vote. Jimmy Johnson is a 7-time champion. He set the record with most championships in a row with 5, which are not. He did that in a system specifically designed to stop exactly what he did. 84 career wins, set the most wins record at Charlotte. There's nobody else on that ballot for 2024 that should have got a vote other than Jimmy Johnson. And of the 4 people, because there's 57 voters, 53 selected Jimmy, 4 didn't. I need answers from these 4 people that did not vote Jimmy Johnson. I need to know who they voted for and why.
Yeah, and if they're so proud of their vote, they should have no problem coming out and explaining why they did it.
Yeah. Michael, I don't know if you saw the pick or the reactions online when they announced that it wasn't unanimous, but what are your thoughts on the Hall of Fame picks?
I mean, I don't know. I don't really got any input in it. It's just, why would you not pick Jimmy Johnson? I mean, most of the time I was a NASCAR fan. I didn't really like him, probably because he was winning all the time. But I can't, not acknowledge what he's done.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing about Jimmy too is the only people who didn't like him were the people that were mad he was winning. It's not like he ever did anything to really piss people off.
Yeah, that's what
Jimmy was as uncontroversial a driver as there has ever been.
Yeah.
I didn't like him because he was winning.
Exactly. That's the only reason. That's the only thing. If people say they don't like Jimmy Johnson, you say why? They say, oh, well, because he won championships, right? They can't say, oh, he's an asshole, or my kid was trying to get an autograph and he walked right by. No, Jimmy's stopping every time and signing that thing. Jimmy, as far as a human being, there's not many that are better on this planet than him. So any votes against him in the hall were purely because they were upset that he was winning, or some type of retaliation, or they just thought that he was going to get in and they would vote somewhere to get their own interests, or a spite vote to make sure that it wasn't unanimous. We'll never know.
No. With Chad Knaus getting in, I will say I'm glad they put this version of NASCAR's version of Brady and Belichick in at the same time. And I think the best part about those two is neither of them really had that much success after they broke up, so we don't have to have these conversations we're having to have in the NFL right now about whether or not Bill Belichick is a fraud. Like, we're really having this conversation after that man ran roughshod over his division and the NFL with one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever do it. Like, are we serious? So I'm glad we don't have to have that conversation. And Donnie Allison, another great member of the Allison family, getting his earned reward, which is enshrinement in Charlotte among NASCAR's best. And there's a lot of folks on that Pioneer list that need to get in. They need to make that list. They need to do 3 from the Pioneer and 2 from the Modern list, because we have so many Pioneers that we need to get into this Hall of Fame. And I know, unfortunately, we didn't start it until like 2009, 2010, but man, there's so many guys. Red Farmer, still trying to get into the Hall of Fame. One of NASCAR's originals, and still racing now. Still trying to get in the Hall of Fame, and it's absolutely ridiculous. But those are the 3 honorees. And then Janet Guthrie, the first woman to drive in NASCAR, and well-deserved award. Unfortunately, as far as NASCAR is concerned, her legacy has not really... How is a nice way to put this? I'm really upset that Guthrie's legacy was followed by Danica Patrick and not Joanna Long. And that's purely on performance. And I'll leave it at that.
That's fair. And just to kind of follow up with what you were saying, Daryl, about some of the pioneers getting in. If they were really interested in, if they were actually interested in honoring these people and not just using it as financial gain, they would just induct them. Why do you need to only take X amount a year? Why can't you just say, hey, these people are shoe-ins for it eventually. Let's get them in while they can still celebrate the achievement.
That's my thing. Let's get these folks in while they're still alive.
They want to draw it out and get all the money they can out of it. They have no interest in actually honoring these people. They just want to continue to cash in on their name. That's all they want.
Well, the thing is, I won't go that far, but the thing is, yes, it's an anticipation thing to see who's going to get the call. It's kind of like the NFL. But the NFL takes, 5 folks a year? Between 5 and 7? And we're only taking 3 right now. It's weird. We were taking 5, and for some reason they just decided to make it less, which I did not agree with, to be honest.
Yeah, it's goofy. But, with the Bengals, right? We have a defensive back, Ken the Rattler Riley, and he and his family had been pleading for years to get into the NFL Hall of Fame. Years and years and years, right? He's got the most team interceptions, and he's in the top 3 interceptions all time in the NFL. And he was one of the best defensive backs to play the game in his era. And sure enough, he passes away, and the next year they induct him. It's just if you actually have interest in honoring these people, get them in before they die. Let them celebrate their accomplishment, don't have their kids walk across the stage and accept that honor for them. Let them do it themselves.
I mean, us with the Commanders, we're still waiting for Joe Jacoby to get in. You know, one of the legendary Hogs, he's still not in.
Yeah.
So, we got to do something with these Hall of Fames and getting these players. And don't even get me started on the Baseball Hall of Fame. We'll be here all day. Going into the race that we had on Sunday at Richmond, it was okay. I'm not going to sit here and say it was a barn burner as far as passing. It was definitely, like I said on Thursday, it was a race of pitch strategy. Then we had the late race caution near the end, and Chris Buescher gets a win with Roush Fenway Racing, locks himself into the playoffs. But it was a great day for 23XI, even though they didn't have the finishes to show it, finishing 12th and 16th. But those two teams, Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick, were 1-2 at one point, with Denny Hamlin following them in third. But it really felt like the Toyotas, at the end of that race, really started falling off for whatever reason.
Yeah, they started off the race really well. They were up there in front, scored a 1-2 and stage 2, but after stage 2, it just seemed like they just kind of fell off the pace.
It felt like. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
I was going to say, it felt like as soon as the track started rubbering up that the handle went away from them. Because earlier, those cars were fast. But as the day went on and more grip started getting put down, those cars just started losing grip and got a lot more loose. And the Chevys and the Fords caught up, and the Toyotas just went backwards.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I didn't watch the race, and it wasn't because I wasn't available. We actually were kind of going through and changing up our like subscriptions, like Hulu and all that jazz. Mm-hmm. And so we canceled YouTube TV, and we got Peacock, but they didn't stream it on Peacock. There's only like 3 races this year that are streaming on Peacock. So until I find a way to see races without paying a ridiculous amount of money for TV, because at this point NASCAR would be the only thing that I'm actually paying for live TV for.
I think NBC Sports might stream it.
Okay.
Like the actual website. I don't know if you need a TV provider, but I know they stream it.
Okay. Yeah, I gotta look. It was kind of like a last minute decision. Like we were kind of like going back and forth on it, and then it was it was actually Friday that we had to go on and cancel because the subscription was going to renew on the 29th. So didn't really leave me a lot of time to find a new way to do it. So I'll let you. Hopefully, I'll be able to watch. We're going to the Adirondacks this weekend, so I won't be near TV at all this weekend. So, but yeah, hopefully, I can find something for when we get back.
We'll make something happen. But I think what will happen. I think what will help with this situation with Toyota, them trying to figure out the handle on these cars, is they'll have 2 more next year. With Legacy Motor Club coming over. Unfortunately, I don't know if Noah Gregson's going to be there, as he kind of spun Daniel Suarez to cause the late race caution. He has just not been good in that car, and there's a lot of question on who's going to go to the Colic number 31. Gregson does have connections to that team. I think a change of scenery would do him great. For whatever reason, running here with Eric Jones has been the number 1 driver over there. For whatever reason, it just has not worked out, and maybe going over to a team that he has a little bit more of a relationship with, we know it's a little bit more of a laid-back atmosphere, might do him some good to go over there and try to, I don't want to say resurrect his career, because it's way too early for that, but just get his Cup Series career back on track.
Yeah. And actually, one name that I've heard connected to the colleague is actually Shane Van Gisbergen.
I've heard that a lot. He's supposed to be doing an oval at IRP as well, by the way.
Yeah, so that was kind of in a target list of open seats that would probably be good for him. It would be a Chevrolet seat. He's obviously in a Chevrolet right now in supercars, which I don't think that would be the big hang-up, to be honest with you. I think he'd be free to go whatever he wanted to, obviously. But Colleague is definitely the type of team that could use, not that he necessarily has Cup experience, but that dude is a winner. And he can help them launch their NASCAR Cup Series program and get it beyond what Justin Haley and AJ Allmendinger can do. Because, no offense to those two, but they are not the same type of winner and competitive that SVG is.
They're also not as good as they are in Xfinity.
Yeah. Which, that could be. I think he'll come over and run a year in Xfinity somewhere. I'd love to see it with Dale Jr. I would really love that, but I don't know. Things I want usually don't come to fruition, so I'm not gonna put my hopes up on it too much.
Yeah.
He said with the Max Verstappen championship flag behind him.
Yeah, ain't that? Yeah, you're right, Michael. You're right.
Yeah, but Chris Buescher picking up this win, I want to go back to that for a little bit because can we just talk about how well RFK has come along? Because they've pulled a McLaren in Formula One where they were nowhere at the start of this year. Now all of a sudden they're looking like world beaters.
Yeah, and actually, not that I got to see it, unfortunately, but another crazy win. Sam Mayer won on, right?
Yes, Sam Mayer did win in Road America.
So that's kind of crazy. We got two first-time winners because Chris Buescher's never won in Cup. He's never won in Xfinity. So it's pretty cool to see two first-time winners in the same weekend.
Wait a minute. I think Chris Buescher. He got a random win at Pocono.
Really?
Yeah, I was about to say, I swear
due to
God
fog. It was either fog or rain. He got a Pocono win there, so you're forgiven for not remembering. It was 2016, his second year at Front Row. He won the Pocono race. He then finished 30th the next week.
It was weird coincidence. It was like Justin Haley's rain win then.
Yeah, it was a weather thing. Yeah, it was a weather thing. He stayed out.
Okay. Yeah, so okay. And that was 7 years ago.
Yep.
So yeah, I'll take your guys' forgiveness on that one. He should be. This is probably like his first win in a way, though. The first one he won on merit.
Well, we're forgetting he also won at Bristol last year.
He did?
Yeah. He's listed as the winner for Bristol. I don't remember this.
Dirt?
No, like night race. I'm trying to find the results. I'm trying to see what happened.
We're really
no
forgetting this man's stats right now.
He won
the race. Because it was him, Chase Elliott, William Byron were the top three. Because I think that's when Harvick and Elliott got into it. I'm also trying to see if this was because of a penalty. But yeah. This tells you how much we pay attention to Chris Buescher on a weekly basis, by the way.
Maybe we should start paying attention to Chris Buescher.
I think that's going to be my next point, because they're starting to bring it together with that team. RFK has been great for his career. And Brad Keselowski has turned that team around into something that can really be respectable. Because RFK, they were going the way of what RCR kind of turned into there for a little while.
Well,
actually, they were there.
Well, it's a new partnership, like it's very seldom that these new partnerships take off immediately. There's going to be some, learning curves and some setbacks to where they find something and then they, get it together and they're, up and running quick again. Even 2311, they took a while to get where they are now. So
Yes.
I
And yeah,
I guess they just needed some time.
and yeah, Busher was able to take advantage of the Harvick versus Elliott nonsense to pick up that win. I do not. Okay, last year we had so many weird behind winners that we just haven't had this year. It's hard to keep track. But, yeah, Busher, that might be my dark horse to go rounds in the playoffs. I'm going to be honest. Something about how that team has been running recently is telling me he might, if he ends up in the round of 8, I'm not going to be surprised. In fact, I'm going to call my shot right now. Chris Busher is going to be in the round of 8.
Shots fired. Dang.
And you can write that down. I really think this is going to be the start of something good for this kid. Well, not kid, he's 30, but
I can feel Chris opening up the spreadsheet right now.
You must have telepathy or something because you are absolutely right.
he's going to keep me honest on that one. But
you
hey,
are 100% right. That is going right in the show notes.
I am sorry, Chris Busher fans, if I have jinxed him. But hey, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get into the the disappointing test that we had at Richmond. Then we're going to get into Formula One. And man, there is a team out there where their team chemistry between driver and pit wall is in the negatives at this point. We'll discuss that more on the other side of this break here on the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio. Sorry, my voice correct. Your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, sports fans? You're listening to IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your favorite West Coast Wisconsinite, Bernie Bango, and if you're a cheesehead, come listen to my show, Big Cheese Sports, where we road trip around America's Dairyland, previewing, reviewing, predicting, debating, and digging into all that is Wisconsin sports at the college and pro levels. Join me on IE Sports Radio, Sundays at 1 p.m. Central Standard. Bernie out.
Well, what is up, Carolina Nation? This is John Felipe of the Carolina Cast, of course, the podcast of, by, and for the Carolinas, right here on IE Sports, your direct feed for all that is sports. And I'm reminding you to tune in Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern for the latest in Carolina sports, whether it's the Panthers that keep on pounding, the fly natures of the Hornets, the storming Hurricanes, the battle of the Blues with Duke and UNC, the fight of the Clemson Tigers, or the amazing atmosphere of any Carolina college. I'm talking App State, I'm talking ECU. I've got you covered. Once again, tune in for the Carolina Cast with me, John Felipe, Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Notorious Lock.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That gives you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
And we're back here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Sorry about that. Daryl, Michael, and Larry here with you this evening. Before we get back going, Chris, sorry. Before we get back going, I do want to give a shout out to Ty Gibbs, the number 54. He gets us pit crew, because they set the fastest pit stop in NASCAR history, 4 tires and fuel at Richmond, with a 8.54 on the clock.
That's pretty fast.
Yep. Just over 8.5 seconds to get that pit stop done. Now, obviously, it's slightly, I hate saying the word easier, but streamlined with the one lug nut and everything, but still, to get it done that fast and no penalties, that is a testament to how that pit crew trains. Now, if only we could get that at the other Toyota teams. Just saying.
Yeah, no, it's very impressive. And the only other team that's averaged across all pit stops for a race a sub 10 seconds is Alex Bowman.
Hey, they're still faster than for Ferrari.
Yeah. Mike, did you guys see that TikTok that I sent you a little while ago?
Send me a TikTok.
Which one?
I did. Of the people who were probably clearly drinking doing the pit stop challenge at Formula One.
Yes, I saw those guys.
And they got like a 3.2 second or something like that. And
yes.
Then it cuts to the Max Verstappen 33 song, and it says still faster than Ferrari, and it posts Ferrari's like 9-second stop.
Yeah. We're about to get into Ferrari, but before we go into that, the 2-day aero test at Richmond for the new, or what was going to be the new aero package for short tracks did not provide the change in aero that they were looking for. They did it with the tires, and it was a little bit better, but unfortunately, not a lot of improvement seen out of the new, hopefully, new short track package for 2024. There's been a lot of complaints about the short track racing. At this point, I know they're trying to run the engines multiple laps. You're just going to have to put more power into it, because you're trying everything aero-wise at these tracks. They're too small. It's just not going to work, to be honest.
What was that?
What was that?
That's me going, unlimited power.
That's the NASCAR teams want, or that's what the drivers want. We'll see if they get it. The conversations about that will be continuing until the end of time, I bet. Let's get into Formula One.
Let's not.
Well, we have to. The Belgian Grand Prix.
I sent you a link in the chat, Daryl.
Okay. I don't need to tell you who won. You already know who won. So we're going to skip.
Did, a.k.a. my bank account.
Yeah. So
That's
we'll get
a question.
I got an answer.
Do you have your alarm set to either of the two Max Verstappen songs?
No.
I'm very surprised, but okay, go ahead.
What, you want to be even more surprised?
No.
Okay.
The big moment of that race, though, kind of happened at the start, where you have Oscar Piastri sitting up there, hoping to have a great race. Leclerc's on the front row. You know, all well and good, going into turn number 1. Piastri goes into the turn, trying to pick up some spots, and Carlos Sainz just closes down on him and bashes him into the turn 1, or into the inside wall, and absolutely cleans out Oscar Piastri.
Might not give it to you.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I don't know, because a lot of people say Sainz is the number 1 at Ferrari now, and I'm just like, he's not ready to take that yet. He still makes, in my opinion, mistakes just as bad as Leclerc,
or worse.
That's just or worse.
The problem is that there's just no leadership or accountability at Ferrari. So how can we even be talking about a number 1 driver and a number 2 driver when it seems like they just all kind of run around like chickens with their heads cut off?
Well, the drivers literally have to dictate the strategy. And it's almost like they're trying to protect themselves, or trying to protect the pit wall from themselves. At one point, when we had the little 10-minute rain shower, Leclerc keys up on the radio and says, "We are pitting for slicks." In the most defeated, don't even think about it voice I've ever heard him use.
No, I've heard him sound more depressed.
Was it in France?
No,
he's been a lot more depressed than that.
Yeah, he's been a lot more depressed than that.
It just goes
back. That wasn't even depression. That was just anger.
Yeah, it just goes back to the point that we talk about with Ferrari, and it's getting to every week thing where the drivers have no faith in the race strategy. And at this point, the race strategists have no idea what they're doing.
Here's the thing, Darryl, to add to that, the drivers have no faith in the race strategists, and the race strategists have no faith in themselves.
Yes.
Which is why I'm glad that it's a very slow process, but it started at the beginning of the week where the race director is now gone. All right, I'm hoping that this slow and steady improvement can be made in Ferrari, because I know it's not going to happen immediately. No changes ever happen immediately. But if we can get good people in that office, like Frederick Vasseur is apparently trying to do, then I can see hope in the future. But as of right now, it's just not going to work with, a pit wall that's being paid millions to make strategy, and they're looking like F2 teams, quote unquote, Lewis Hamilton, every week. So I think there's some restructuring happening at Ferrari, and I hope it does. One of the things that's being talked about is, Leclerc's contract. And I think one of the things that is going to make him stay is if they agree to build. They did this with Verstappen. They build the team around him. It's the only way.
I would say that it's a little different, though. And it's like a driver is not going to know who a good engineer is. It's not even their. It's not their job to know people's qualifications. So as far as building the team, all they can say is, "Hey, Charles, we're going to build the team around you." But they're already showing that they can't build the team.
Well, no, I'm
like they.
Well, no, what I'm trying to say is that, Vasseur, he's going to build a new team around Leclerc. The people that are in there right now, he's trying to get rid of so that he can do that.
And that, if that's the conversation is, hey, look, we're going to be clearing house. So what I say is, if I'm Charles, I say, if you clear house, I'll stay. But I can go anywhere else and get a ride tomorrow.
That's the discussion I think is happening right now as we speak.
Well, here's the other problem with Ferrari, and sorry to cut in, but they haven't built a team around somebody since Schumacher and Ross Brawn. That is the last time they built a team around somebody.
You know what? We're going to have to do that now.
Yeah. I mean, my problem with Ferrari is they've gone back into this shell of, we are Ferrari, we're better than everybody. That didn't help you before Niki Lauda got there. That didn't help you before Michael Schumacher got there. And it sure as heck isn't helping you now. You're not going to I'm Ferrari your way out of this. They have got to take some risks. And hopefully Fred, once he gets his own people in there, can do that. Or else it's just going to be another decade of misery.
I have confidence in Vasseur. I'm just going to have to wait and see, because I know it's going to be a process. But you got to build the team around Leclerc. That's the only way.
Yeah.
The problem is
Red Bull.
How long is it going to take? And how long is Leclerc willing to continue on as is? If I'm Leclerc, I'm saying there needs to be a major shakeup before we come back from the summer break.
Yes.
That you've got a couple uninterrupted weeks right now where, if I'm Leclerc, I'm saying, you want me to stay, this is where you negotiate in good faith. Take a swing, and even if you miss, you swung.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I guess we'll know, because we'll probably start getting some news, especially with it being so slow. I mean, if somebody goes home early, it's going to be all over the media.
Yeah, I mean, we have 4 weeks of nothingness coming up with the summer break, so there's going to be a lot of whatever crumbs of Formula One news we'll get is going to be a big deal. Hopefully, we will get some news on the 2 new teams supposedly coming in.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get some news about that. That'll be a really good deal.
And Andretti might already have its team principal.
Who?
Otmar.
Yes, he did get let go from Alpine.
And he's already been linked to a new entrant F1 team.
Yeah.
And I think they actually specifically said American.
It's got to be Andretti. It's going to be interesting to see how that works out. Also, God, it just slipped my mind what I was about to say. I'll come back to it. But the main thing from the Belgian Grand Prix, also when it comes to Piastri, can we just talk about the roller coaster of emotions he went through? On Saturday, he finished second in the sprint, gets to the Grand Prix, and doesn't even get to complete a lap because of a mistake not of his own making. That just sucks.
That's the other driver blamed him for.
I mean, I feel like in Formula One, that's happened to everybody at one point or another.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you go and look at the replay, and it's like, no, it was actually your fault.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like it's almost like a rite of passage. It's going to happen to everybody eventually, so he just happened to catch his year one.
Yeah. It was not as bad as, who was it? I don't know if it was Stroll, but it was somebody who got hit off the track. And the guy's like, Hulkenberg hit me. And then Hulkenberg's like all the way down the straight.
That was hilarious.
No one even near him.
No one was near you.
Yeah. So Formula One will be off until the rest of the year. When it comes to the situation at Alpine with Otmar getting fired, they cleaned out the entire top brass before that race.
I think the one guy was already leaving. I think he was already resigned.
Yeah,
is what it sounded like.
Probably a resigning. Either you're going to resign or we're going to fire you type thing is what it sounds like. But what were they expecting? It wasn't going to be a 1-year turnaround. I keep forgetting they're a works team. They perform so badly. And it's going to take multiple years to turn that engine program and everything around. And they did not get the time. So I don't get it.
They're also a works team with like no other like customer team either.
That's why they've been pushing for the high-tech and the Andretti deal, because apparently both of those teams are signed up to do work with Renault to come in, particularly on the chassis side. Some much-needed R&D dollars would be coming into Alpine that way if this deal gets done.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what they're lacking, really. They're lacking like that extra bit of money.
Yeah. And we know money makes Formula One go round. Yeah. Now, I wonder if we're going to hear who violated the cap during this break.
I don't know.
I would really like to know.
I would have to, just like last year.
And if it's Red Bull again, I'm gonna have to ask questions.
I would. Well, I really need to know, how is this leaking again? This is supposed to be confidential information.
Formula One has more leaks than a boat.
Yeah, but this is supposed to be a third party. I mean, there's obviously probably a boatload of NDAs signed. I just need to know who is continuously breaking these. Because now this is the second year in a row that someone is breaching an NDA.
Well, I'll put it like this. In any organization like this that is highly political, there's always somebody willing to leak stuff out, especially with how tumultuous the last 3 years have been. So I'm not surprised that it's probably another team with sour grapes that's putting it out.
Have access. I don't think they have access to each other's books, though, so they wouldn't actually be able to know.
Unless they're hearing from somebody else what the reports are saying, because
it
is really interesting that this keeps coming out.
Got a lot of not Ferraris, but Red Bull stuff.
I think if any team broke, I think it's going to be Aston Martin.
Mm-hmm.
They just had way too big of a jump in the off season, and yeah, allegedly. I don't even know if I have to say allegedly if I'm predicting something.
How many teams was it that breached?
They
supposedly 3.
I feel like it's Aston again.
I've heard Red Bull, Mercedes. I did not hear Aston. No, I did hear Aston.
It could be Mercedes highly because of all the development they had to do to change their season around.
Yeah,
exactly. I think Toto's a money man, and I think that if he sits there and looks at it, the fine that Red Bull got's nothing to them, especially since their primary backer is oil. I'm sure they just send that up the chain and they get it paid. And then the bulk of it's obviously the wind tunnel time, but you gotta strike, you gotta take the chance, and I'm sure that they just figured, well, we'll get as much development as we can and take the L. I don't see Red Bull doing it twice.
I hope it's not Red Bull twice in a row.
If it's Red Bull twice in a row, I'm gonna be mad.
Sneakily, it could be Williams.
Could be.
I don't know, because remember, this is for last year.
Yeah, but your development for this year's car would be in there.
True, but look at how their car ran last year. I don't know if it was them.
They gained a lot of pace this year, though, particularly on the straights. I mean, they're averaging on the straights faster than Red Bull.
Well, Williams has always been like a straight line heavy car.
McLaren definitely broke it this year for next year.
They had to.
I'll be shocked if they're not one of the teams that broke it next year. Let's get to IndyCar really quick. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix this Sunday at noon. I don't think this race has actually finished its advertised distance in the first 2 years. It's just been so freaking chaotic. They've moved it to noon this time, so they will have plenty of light to get it in, but how much chaos should we be expecting at this race? Because the last few years, it feels like we go 4 or 5 laps and somebody ends up in the concrete.
I don't know, but with the news that broke today, I really hope they figure it out.
Which is Nashville will be our season finale in 2024. We have not seen
3 years, right?
3-year deal. We have not seen the rest of the schedule. I mean, we know we're going to start in St. Pete. We're going to run the Indy 500. Nashville's the end. We don't know what's in between that right now. But they are shortening the track. That should help. But I have no idea how this week's race is going to go, other than probably a lot of torn up carbon fiber and a lot of scratching our heads when we come back next Thursday.
Yep, so it should be fun. Or not.
Yep.
So Bob Pockris tweeted out, not going to get into a 2024 NASCAR schedule discussion tonight. It's not finalized yet, but there's a possibility of an IndyCar finale in Nashville the day after the Bristol night race next year. So if you made the drive from one end of Tennessee to the other, you could do NASCAR Saturday, make it over to Nashville for the IndyCar finale.
That's a lot of driving.
Because theoretically,
That's a 4-hour drive.
yeah, but think about it. If you wake up early, if you wake up around even 7, you're still over there by 11:30, and if they're going to push it back to maybe like a 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, so if it's the same weekend as the night race, they're going to figure it out. They are certainly going to figure out how to make it work where they can double up on that crowd. They'll probably do a package deal. And there'll probably be shuttles. They'll probably have a whole line of shuttle buses at Bristol Motor Speedway on Saturday night to drive everyone into Nashville.
Maybe. We'll see. I don't know if the IndyCar and NASCAR fan base is really...
But if you traveled to the night race, why not pack in another race rather than... If it comes down to watching another race or going home, I think a lot of people are going to try to go do another race, even if it's not necessarily their cup of tea.
Yeah. I think some folks will figure it out.
Yeah.
So this week, of course, we have Nashville and Michigan. Chris, have you made the link for nearest the win?
No,
if not,
I will.
All right. Well, we'll tweet those out. We're going to get ready to get out of here because I have to go to DC tomorrow. I didn't do anything wrong. It's just I'm going into the city.
Oh, you did
so, well, not this time. Anyway.
Oh, I've got it sitting right here, actually. I already made it. I just never sent it.
Oh, well, I'm going to get ready to close this out. You can send the link. Remember, I'm at DK Junior 12. Chris is at Fiji Sims. Michael's at Michael_War25. If you want to talk to us on... Are we still calling it Twitter?
X.
I'm not calling it that.
Twitter X.
You can follow us on Twitter or X or whatever the crap it's called. Also follow our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Also, if you missed any episode of any iSports Radio show, make sure you follow us anywhere where you get your podcasts and the YouTube repository, which has a copy of every episode of every show we've ever done. And also make sure to check out iSportsRadio.com, get up on the forums, find out more about our shows, and make sure to get you some nice iSports Radio swag as well. So we're going to get out of here for this weekend. For Michael and Chris, I'm Daryl. Thank you so much for listening to The Extra Mile. We will see you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.